Hello. So today we're going to talk about the possibility of welding the frame on the C7 Corvette. There are a lot of people out there who believe that you should never repair a car that's had frame damage. If that's your belief system, I think that's fine. You're entitled to it. I'm not rebuilding this car to sell it to somebody else. So, what I feel about it is what's most important. But the frame on the C7 Corvette, it's aluminum, and so instead of being long steel rails from front to back, there are modular segments with male to female connectors that go about every 1.5 to 3 feet the whole length of the frame. So if you look at the technical manual, the dealer uses, there are procedures in there for repairing the frame on these cars. It's just that almost every insurance adjuster out there is going to total the car out if he sees any bad frame damage, because insurance really doesn't want the liability for that. So that's where it's a little different for me. It's my car. I'm going to be driving it. I'm not taking on a huge liability cost by doing this. And not to mention, this is the second time I welded the frame on this car, and we'll take a look in just a second, but it turned out pretty good for me the first time. So we definitely tested it by smashing the car head first into a wall. So I feel like that gives us a little bit of experience. So let's take a look at how the segments worked and what happened during the wreck. So if you look here, this is that female connector on the frame that I was talking about. You can see where you've got welds all around the circumference of it here. This is the frame rail that came out of there. You can see how we took a hit from the side off center like this. It just sort of rotated it like that. Sort of bent the back end here. And because this is just sort of stamped aluminum real weak here, and this is a much heavier cast aluminum back here, that's what shocked me when I got this car taken apart, is really, the big cast piece of the frame up there, it's not damaged. When you look at these on Copart, you'll see a lot of them where there's like a chunk ripped off here, a chunk ripped off there. I really wouldn't mess with that, because if you want to repair that, you're going to have to pull the engine, and you're going to have to go back to this joint back here and put a whole new frame rail in there. But we're really lucky in this case, because it just kind of pulled that piece out of there in a real nice way for us. So let's take a look at some of the welds. If you can see here, here's the front bumper bar right here. This is a records weld here that did not break. This is a records weld. This is a records weld down in here that did not break. Same thing over here. That's a records weld right there. And got another records weld right there. Now, they're not the prettiest welds in the world, and I am not a talented welder. But the only weld that I did on this car that broke was this one right here. Now, it's aluminum welds, right? So when a car hits a wall, these are designed to break, like it's not a strong weld. It's not like a steel weld, So that's not surprising. It almost seems like it's designed for these pieces to come out of there. So all you have to do, you're pulling the bad piece out here, and then you're going and getting the new piece you buy from General Motors. You're going to stick that right in here. And you can see just how tight it fits, And, you can wiggle it a little bit in there, but you can really tell when it's pressed against the back of that compartment there. And now you've just got to repeat those same welds. It's like 8 welds that are in a circumference around there. And it's going to be real easy to do. So, come over here, do the same thing on the other side. And it just fits. This one you can wobble it out, but it's really easy to tell exactly where it goes, and you're just going to connect those welds there. It's going to be real easy. If you have any doubts about this process, You just have to look at the GM manual here, and you can see right here they show you exactly how many millimeters those welds need to be. They show you, they want you to use a 5554 wire in a 0.35 size. They tell you basically everything you want to do. You notice here it says pulsed Mig Welder. So the reason for that is a pulsed MIG is kind of a technology that's designed to transfer the smallest amount of heat as possible. So we don't want to put a lot of heat into this aluminum frame because the car's still sitting on it, the wheels are still bearing a load, you know, and if we bend that frame because we got it too hot, that's going to be a bad deal. Okay, so the next thing we'll need to do is size up this crossbar here. So we've got our, you know, our frame members lined up here. And then just something that's real important to do is make sure this is square at the front here. So, yeah, I've just taken a standard square that you'd get at Lowe's or Home Depot or someplace like that, and I've cut the corner out of it here so that it doesn't interfere with these little bracing strips down here. So, yeah, so you can see right here that once we get this aligned like we want to, it lines up perfectly square. I've got this camera mounted on my head, so hopefully you can see that there, but we're perfectly square there. So then we'll go to the other side now. And as soon as we straighten this up, you can see same thing over here, perfectly square. So it's looking real good there. We like that. Of course, that's the whole thing, is that we got to make sure that it's not bent and that we weld the thing up really well so it's straight. So we've already taken a level and put it across the top of here and a level on the floor to make sure nothing's bent upward or downward. And then our crossbar here is perfectly square with both frame rails there. So, you know, that's a pretty good way of making sure that we're square. We'll take a few other measurements, and if you have access to a laser frame measuring machine, they have those, they exist. That's a lot better way of being able to measure at various points all throughout the frame. But I'm pretty confident this is pretty straight, so it looks like we'll start welding it soon. So there you have it, that's the plan. You know, when I first got this car, I really did not want to do any of the welding. I thought so I took it up, I think to Auto Masters or someplace like that, and I said, hey, you know, I just want the welds done. I don't need anything else. And this guy looked at me and he said, now son, let me tell you something right now. I could tell you right now, that car is never going to be safe to carry human beings ever again. So you might as well get rid of it. And I was thinking to myself, okay, if you tell me it's not worth it, I can believe that. If you tell me I'm an idiot, definitely can believe that. But we've landed people on the moon. We can follow the General Motors recommended procedure for fixing this problem, you know. So then I started calling around. You know, I just call up different frame shops. I called up every body shop, frame shop in the Wichita area. I said, hey, do you guys do pulsed MIG welding? And not a single one knew what the hell I was talking about. So I just thought to myself, you know, the whole point of pulsed MIG welding is it's supposed to make it easy for people with very little training. Think of like uneducated people in China to be able to weld aluminum. So that's the idea behind it. And I thought, hey, that sounds a lot like me. So I'm going to give this a shot. And it worked great. Now, there's gonna be a lot of people that say, hey, you could TIG weld that, you know, TIG weld aluminum. And sure, you know, TIG weld is gonna be a lot more beautiful weld. You know, these pulsed MIG welds, in my experience, are not an incredibly beautiful weld. But a TIG's gonna put a lot more heat in there, you know, so you gotta be a lot more careful about, you know, possibly melting that frame or allowing that frame to bend. I just wanted to keep all the heat I could out of that frame, and according to General Motors, pulsed MIG welding is the best way to do that. So that's the plan, just to do that over again this time, and we'll see how it works.